In this introductory sharing and collaboration webinar, you'll receive a tour of the user interface and the many Office 365 offerings. My goal is to help you better understand how using Office 365, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive will streamline your workflow. As we explore the environment, users will learn about the different sharing and collaboration capabilities available. We'll dive into collaboration tools such as versioning and co-authoring, as well as the ups and downs of checking documents out when editing them. With Office 365, documents and files are stored in one place. This is ideal for version control. Gone are the days of accidentally storing multiple versions of documents in folders, on a user's desktop, or emailing several versions to your team. In this webinar, you'll learn that file sharing isn't limited to just inside the office, but you do have full control. With a cloud-based solution like Office 365, you have anywhere access. Everything is stored in one location, whether it's on OneDrive or SharePoint, and using Office Online has become invaluable to those of us on the go, but isn't limited to just the browser. It integrates very nicely with the more robust versions of the desktop applications. Again, files are always up to date, and everyone has access to the latest version. You'll see how easy it is to store, share, and even sync files. Viewing Documents Library and using drag and drop features within the browser is great, but I'll also show you some new ways to manage online files right on your computer within the File Explorer. The first thing I'll do is sign into Office 365 using my Microsoft credentials. I've typed in an email address that I'll use in this webinar, and then the password. This authentication is important for the security of my documents, as well as for others to know exactly who I am for accountability, especially when I'm collaborating with my team. Microsoft Office 365 is a collection of services and tools that we can easily access from any web browser. Now, this can be any web browser that you choose, but I suggest using the most current version of it. The other thing is that most mobile devices that we use every day will sync perfectly with Office 365. The catch is you need to be online to fully use Office 365 since it is a cloud-based solution. And since it is cloud-based, that means everything is stored off-site, including email, instant messages, and file sharing services. So let's begin by exploring the Office 365 environment. Up here on the top left of the page, you'll see where your online apps live. You'll notice that I have choices for Mail, Calendar, People, which is Contacts, OneDrive, Sites, which is SharePoint, Tasks, and then there's the suite of Office Online applications. We have Word Online, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and you can see here I even have something called Delve. Here we can check out our personalized feed of relevant documents. And as it tells us here, what you see is based on what you and your colleagues are working on. So that means we can search and we can easily find colleagues, learn more about them, see what they're working on, and then we can create our own page and get going. We can see some people over here on the left side. But in this webinar, we're not really going to get into this. We're going to focus more on SharePoint. So I'll click on Sites. And I've created this SharePoint site to demonstrate, and I'm just going to click on Documents. So next, let's talk about sharing and collaboration within Office 365, and again right here in SharePoint to begin with. Co-authoring is an awesome feature, and with Office 365, this includes a communication tool which is now called Skype for Business. This means that you can have teams working on the same document at the same time, but with Skype, you can communicate with them in real time without ever sending a single email. So aside from co-authoring, sharing capabilities are also awesome within Office 365. There's so much that you can do to work with your team, both inside and outside your organization. And again, you have full control over this. Another thing, collaboration works really well with both a Mac and a PC. So I'll show you in a minute, but when you're working on Word documents, each of the editors locks a paragraph, so you'll see some little brackets in the document while he or she is working. Others won't see those modifications until they're saved. So to see the new available changes, we have to click on Save, and you'll notice once we begin, the Save button is turned into what's called a synchronization button, with that little 3.5-inch floppy disk icon, except it has these little green arrows on it. and that's going to let us know that it's a synchronization button and that our Office 365 is communicating very well with our desktop applications. So a few additional things we're going to want to do before we start collaborating. We're going to want to update our document library permissions. So permission settings in a document library are going to grant users to do a few things. They can view or edit, design, or they can have full control rights as ownership within that document library. So if we want to review or update permissions and access the library so that we can have, that co-authoring or simultaneous editing, what we'll do is click on the Library tab. And here we get a nice ribbon. I'm going to go over here and click on Library Settings. Once I do that, I'll see a Permissions and Management group here. So I'll click on Permissions for this document library, just to ensure that my permission levels are what I want. So here we have a column for the different groups and the type and permission levels. So members can edit, owners have full control, visitors can read, and then we have Excel services viewers and they can view only. So what I'm going to do is just check. Today I'm going to be working with just owners. So I'll click on that and check. I've got introductory, and today I'm going to demonstrate with two characters, Samantha Byrne and John Keller. So we'll work with those two, and I'm going to split my screen and show you side by side how this collaboration and sharing works. So there we go. We've ensured that our permissions are good and everybody has editing rights within that document library. So I just clicked back a few times and I'm back in my document settings. So we went in and we looked at the permissions. Another thing we're going to want to do is enable versioning. So in the document library, versioning is going to allow us to create full versions of a document, and then it also retains that, and we have a history of any document changes. This can be really beneficial because we may need to roll back, if something happened, somebody put in incorrect information or the file became corrupt. SharePoint's going to save those in a history, so we can always go back and bring up that version that we had previously. Sort of overrides the most recent ones. So there are a few options here, and I'll show those off by clicking over here on versioning settings. Now, a lot of people don't have versioning turned on. You can see over here we have three choices. We can have no versioning, we can create major versions, and we can create major and minor. So that means we can create minor draft versions as well as major, maybe publishing ones. So you'll see version 1 and then maybe 1.1, 1.2, and then up to 2.0, something like that. If you're collaborating on OneNote, you want to click on just create major versions. That's going to run a lot more smoothly if you do that. But for today, I'm going to create major and minor versions. Now here we have required documents to be checked out before they can be edited. This is checked as yes, and this can be a big problem and be a little frustrating at first if you don't know how to fix this with collaboration, because that means only one person can edit a document at the same time. And for now, I'm going to keep this at yes just to demonstrate the message that you'll get if you require a checkout. So I'll click OK. So for now, I'm going to follow the breadcrumbs back. So we have settings, which I'm in now. I can just click here on documents. It's going to bring me back to that documents library that I was on. So what I'll do is maybe I'll check out a document. So here we have this character, Samantha Byrne, and what she'll do is check here and go to the Files tab. And from here, we can check out. So we can tell this is checked out by the little green arrow here, and also if I hover over it, I can see a little screen tip that Samantha Byrne has this checked out. I've also created a column over here, which I think is helpful because we can see exactly who's checked out very easily by looking over here. So she can go in, work on this document. The thing is, I'm going to pull this over here, and let me show you. We'll get side by side here. I have this character here, John Keller, and go into Espresso Cafe and the documents library. This is going to be the same one. Okay, so again, Samantha has this checked out, the employee acceptance letter. And John can tell that she has it checked out because we have that same green arrow there. So if he opens the document, he can see it here in Word Online. This is a read-only. This is just the ability to view it. Now here in Word Online, this is entirely browser-based, by the way, he can edit the document using Word, using that full functionality of the desktop application. And here I'm using Word 2013, which you'll see in a few minutes, and then edit in Word Online. So we can make quick changes right here in the browser, or we can use full functionality. So Word Online is a much lighter but really useful tool. So I'm just going to begin by clicking Edit in Word Online, but remember, Samantha has this checked out. So John would click and get an error message. Sorry, Word Online can't edit this document because it's currently checked out to someone else. And we could open in Reading View, which is what we were in before. Just a read-only view type of thing. From here, I'll go back to versioning settings, and this is where we're going to disable that requiring documents to be checked out before they can be edited. And once again, the reason we do this is so we can collaborate. So I'll click OK. So now we're good to go. We can actually have those two people be in the same document at the same time, and I'll demonstrate that for you. One thing I'd like to mention is actually just going into advanced settings. And I'll scroll down a little bit. Here's this opening documents in the browser choice. What's our default behavior? What do we want? Well, we're using Office 365. A lot of times it's easy to just have it by default open in the browser. You could have it open in the client application every time, but I like to keep it first opening using Office Online, and then I can have the choice to edit within my desktop application or client application if I'd like to. So this is usually where I keep it, open in browser, but that's how you'd make that change. You'd go to Library Settings and then Advanced Settings, and you can make that change. But just be sure to scroll down and click OK. So now we're good to go. I'm going to click on Documents, follow those breadcrumbs, and we'll split the screen again so we can see both. So we've got John Keller on this side. Let's move that over a little bit. And we've got Samantha Byrne on this side. So I'll first show you what it looks like when Samantha opens this employee acceptance letter and then goes in and edits using Word Online. As you can see, we did have that choice there. And by default, it opened in Office Online within our browser. So that's great. So John's going to open the same document. And remember, we don't require a checkout for this one. So he'll just open that up. And there, we're both in. And we'll edit in Word Online just to show you the side-by-side view. Now watch what happens. Samantha Byrne is editing. That's what John sees. And John Keller is editing. And check this out. Samantha is indicated with this red person here, and then over here John is indicated with this green. So as different users, typically, we wouldn't have it side by side. This is just me showing you what it looks like. John and Samantha could be across the country. They could be in another room. Somebody could be working from home. It doesn't really matter as long as they're both in SharePoint and they're in the same document. They'll be able to see where the other person is. And it doesn't just have to be two people. Since this is a demonstration, we're just using two today. But this can be obviously more than one person. Let's go over here and have Samantha make a change. And instead of Store Manager, maybe we'll put Assistant Manager. And over here, that was instantly changed. And we can see where Samantha's insertion point is. So that's good stuff. I love it. And maybe John is going to make a change. So he will go and change jobs to employment. And that was instantly reflected over here. We can see John made that change. So this is great. We're collaborating. We're working together on the same exact document. And we didn't email the other person the document, and then they made changes, and then you go back and forth and clog up your inbox. Also, we're not trying to work on a shared network drive where the documents could be in different places, or maybe somebody downloads it to their desktop or something, and then you just don't have the same version of that document. So again, one of the best features of this is version control. This has to do with, again, collaboration and sharing. So I'm going to keep this document open here, and there's no save button with Office Online. Okay, so I'm just going to go back, and it tells me here Samantha is no longer editing because she's not in the document anymore. So we're going to have her go back in though and check this out. An employee acceptance letter, just that read-only view. If she wants to edit, we'll go to edit in Word. There we go, and John edits in Word Online. So perfect, we're both in, and we'll give this a moment and we'll be able to see that two people are actually editing. So here's Samantha, that's what John's indication is there, and check this out. If I click here, this has two people and it has a number 2 there. If I click on it, two people are editing, and here they are, Samantha and John. So this is really similar. Okay, so John Keller is editing this document. Maybe we'll change this back to store. So maybe store manager. We'll click over here. Nothing's changed yet. Now remember I was talking about that synchronization button instead of a save button? That's up here, up in the quick access toolbar. I'm going to click on that. And here this tells me when you save, Word updates the document with the changes made by others, in this case John. So we can easily find the new content, and you'll see this little green overlay. It's kind of like a light green highlighter. So I'll click OK, and that change has been made. Now also before, not sure if you noticed, the little bracket showed up on the side. So if maybe John makes another change, let's say, go back to jobs. Here's our little bracket that's locked for the moment. Tells me updates are available here. And I can click on that or that and click OK. And that change has been made. So let's say Samantha makes a change here in Word. And we'll change May to June. Nothing has changed yet over here in John's version. Samantha's going to need to click that. It's uploading to SharePoint June 1st. Perfect. So there's just an example of sharing and collaboration. So with the sharing part, we just want to make sure everybody had the correct permissions. And then here with the collaboration part, we've got these two working together on that same document, on the exact same version. So go back here. And I'm also going to have John go back. So now I'm going to actually go back to just Samantha here. And instead of SharePoint, I'm going to move on a little bit here. And I'm going to talk about clicking here and going to OneDrive. So SharePoint's a great platform for lots and lots of different things. But here in OneDrive, this is a great way to have, a nice little document library where we can have different teams sharing, or here we can see these are shared only with Samantha. So before we can actually allow John to work on this document with us, we're going to need to send him a sharing invite and allow him permission to go in and use the same document. So I actually want to drag and drop a file in here that we can work on together. So what I'm going to do is go into Documents, and I'm going to drag and drop that. Maybe I'll bring in this Espresso Yourself Employee Handbook. Drag and drop. So there it is, shared with only Samantha. And what I can do is click here and just click Share. So I get this little box that pops up. You want to share the handbook? Sure. I can invite people, and I can make it so they can edit or just view it. Now with collaboration, we're going to want to do edit. So I'm going to invite John Keller. And as I type, he shows up. And I'll just say, let's work on this handbook together. And I can have him required to sign in or not. And there's some additional options. Do we want to send him an email invitation? Yeah, we can do that if we want to. You don't necessarily have to. You can also get a link. Okay, so maybe if you want to share with somebody else, there's a view-only link that generates when I click on that. And then we have an edit link. So I can create a link there. So I can send this out to somebody. It's pretty long. It's a pretty long URL, as you can see. So we can send it out. We can collaborate with other people, but maybe we don't want to anymore. All we have to do is click disable. And we disable it, and that is a dead link now. People cannot access it. So there we go. And this shows me here who it's shared with. So right now it's just Samantha. But anyway, we're going to go back to invite people, and I'm going to click share. So now this tells me John Keller, and I get this little notification here. So I'm going to pull that over. You can see John just got an email, so he can click on that. And here, this is not the file. Okay, this is actually a link to the file in Samantha's OneDrive. And like I mentioned before, this is really great for collaborating. This is an awesome Office 365 feature because you're not sending a version of that document as a file. You're actually working on that one centralized location. So this is a link. You would click on it. And there it is. There's that document. So he can go in and edit maybe in Word Online. And then Samantha can open it up here. And we're going to want to make a few changes here. So need to make sure that she can edit first. John is editing. Samantha is editing. Again, same thing. This looks the same, and it behaves the same as the way we did it in SharePoint, but this is in OneDrive. So this is a little bit different, and we still have those great sharing and collaborating options. So let's change this. Instead of Espresso Yourself, we changed the company name to Espresso Cafe, so we're going to want to make that change there. And certainly we have all these other options. We can go in and do some basic stuff, you know, page layout and review and view. I'm going to want to do a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to want to do a find and replace maybe. We're going to go in and change everything from Espresso Yourself to Espresso Cafe. And to do that, I'm going to want to go in and use the full version of Word. So I'm going to open this document in Word. And here it tells me I've opened from OneDrive. It even congratulated me. So here we go. We've got same thing as before, 2 people working on this document. But for now, I'm just going to go in and choose replace. And I'm going to find Espresso Yourself and replace it with Espresso Cafe. I'm just going to choose replace all. Did 38 replacements, and I'll close that. I want to make a few other adjustments here. Espresso Cafe, that's great, and this needs to be updated, so we'll change this to 2015 maybe. And I'll go back in here. So over there, got that little save synchronization button. I'll click on that. Doing some uploading, and then I'm going to close it. And we'll continue editing in Word Online. Okay, there we go. Those changes were made. It just took a second. And this looks great. That was very easy. So sometimes we need to use Word for a little more robust capability, but it still works. It all syncs really, really well. So next, what I'm going to do is go back and close that out so John's not in that OneDrive document anymore. And Samantha is actually going to make a change, rename that file, and click back. And make that big again. Looks good, so if we go back to her OneDrive, let's say, we've got a little green star. That means it's new, and it's been changed to Espresso Cafe. And just again, for fun here, I'll click on it. Everything's been updated. The name of the company and the year right here. So another great thing about collaboration is that when we use this browser-based one, no matter where we are, we can actually still go in and make some changes. I'm noticing a few changes here that I want to make right away. So I'm going to edit in Word Online. It's not espressoyourself.com, it's actually Espresso Cafe. So there we go. And someone misspelled that. No big deal. We can always go in, make these quick changes. And you know, if I have this synced with my phone, I could even do it with the Word Online Word web app, which is great. I actually use it all the time on my iPhone. One more thing, revisions to the handbook. I'm going to open it in Word this time. And this time, notice I am not sharing this document anymore. I'm not collaborating. But I'm just trying to show you there's a lot of things that you can do very quickly on your own. If maybe you collaborated but a few things were forgotten, you can always go in. We can see those changes were reflected instantly. Here I have heading 3. Well, you know what? I want this to be heading 3 as well. So there we go. Just a quick little change. And I still get that synchronization button up here. I'll click on that. Uploading to SharePoint. And I'm very happy. There we go. Looks great. So I'm going to click on Samantha Byrne, and we'll go back to her OneDrive. And we've got the same tabs and ribbons up here on the top. Now this, we don't have a version history. This is different. This was set up differently within OneDrive. But maybe if we go back to SharePoint, I can show this off. Espresso Cafe and our documents library. The document we worked on earlier, we can see the last person was John Keller who modified it. I can check on it. Up here we have files, and here I can see who this is shared with. We've got Instructor A, John Keller, and actually a few other people as well. And I can click on this button, and this is going to view and manage the version history of the document that I've selected, and check it out. Today we have all these different versions. All right, these are all actually just little minor versions, and that's great. If I wanted to, I can click here and view that version, and if I ever wanted to, I can go in and roll back to a particular one, delete it. Now if I click Restore, I'm about to replace that current version, that top one, with the one that I just selected. And there we go, that change was made. So that's actually a pretty nice feature, and we did have to enable versioning. So I'll just close that out. And we're back to our documents library. Another thing I'd like to show you, which makes collaboration a little easier. You know, a lot of us are used to or very accustomed to using folders on our desktop. So what I can do is, I'm in this document library, I can go to Library, and I can click Sync. Now this is going to create a synchronized copy of this library right on my computer. So I just click that. I get this, sync the library documents from Espresso Cafe, there's the link, and I'm going to find the documents under the Favorites section in my Windows Explorer, and click Sync. So there we go, the files are syncing now. If I want to show them, I can just click on this, and there they are. They're all syncing. And I can tell because I have the little check marks, and as they sync, we've got the little blue arrows. So this is great. I actually have this on my computer, on my desktop computer, so I can access them very easily from maybe my work computer. So then, though, maybe when I'm at the library or at the airport or at home or wherever I'm using my device, I can still access these documents. But sometimes we kind of miss having that file structure that we're used to. So what I could do is just go in and, you know, open up a document, It's going to open in Word, and here's Big Bean Buzz, just a fake little newsletter. So I'm going to do that find and replace again. I'll find Espresso Yourself and replace it with Espresso Cafe. 8 replacements, all good there. Notice, same little synchronization button. Looks good, so that was Big Bean West, Big Bean Buzz West. So I can close that out. This is on my computer. I'm just going to minimize that. And then here we have Big Bean Buzz West. And I'm just going to point out the changes were made here. It's now Espresso Cafe. So that is very exciting. So I'm going to go back to Espresso Cafe document library. And that's how easy it is to synchronize with your computer, with your File Explorer. So that was in SharePoint, but let's go into OneDrive. And what I'm going to do is sync this one as well. So I'll click sync. Tells me right here we're ready. And I'll sync now. It's a little quicker, has fewer files. So we'll show those files. And there they are. So now check this out. Just as promised, we've got SharePoint here in my favorites, and we have OneDrive here in my favorites as well. So same exact documents here as we have there. If I click on SharePoint, documents, same ones there as we have. A little navigation here through to here. Perfect. So there we go. Talked a lot about collaboration, went into sharing, syncing, dragging and dropping documents to make it very easy. The other thing is when we actually go in and we use these documents, for example, I can actually go and click on Home or Share. And right now I can print these documents. When you're in SharePoint or you're in OneDrive, you can't print more than one document at the same time. You just can't do it. And sometimes we want to do this. So if I click here, Share, Print works. So I can actually use Control or I can use Shift, whatever method I like. But check this out. Maybe I have an Excel document and a Word document I can't print. So that's just one thing that I want you to be aware of. You actually have to print the same type of document if you want to do multiple file prints. So if you ever see this grayed out, just make sure you don't have two different types of document. There I had a Word document and an Excel document. Again, just a little side note, so if you run into that, you'll know exactly why that's grayed out. Also, we can easily drag and drop documents into here and treat this just like our File Explorer. So as I mentioned, sharing, collaboration, file management, OneDrive, SharePoint. Also, I just wanted to point out, make sure you're going into library and going into those library settings and making the appropriate changes to both versioning and sometimes your advanced settings. Okay, so as I've been going through this, I did answer a few questions that people asked, but I did notice we have a question here about sending a link out to somebody outside the organization and having them work on the document at the same time. So let's give that a try, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to go into OneDrive. I'll click on Espresso Cafe, and I'll click on Share. So on this one, I'm actually going to get a link, and we're going to say Edit. Create that link. And I just copied that link. So I'll click that. And why don't we go in and create an email. We'll send this to joestudent.kls@gmail.com. And the subject is Collaboration on Handbook. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to paste that right in there. And for now, I'm just going to send this off. Go back to OneDrive, And here is a Gmail account for Joe Student. And there's the email from Samantha Byrne. So we'll just click on that. And our Joe Student friend here is going to click and go into Word Online. So check this out. Edit in browser. We'll do that split screen thing again. And click on it. And there we go. We're working on the same document. Pretty cool. Because I actually shared that link with somebody in Gmail, which is obviously outside the organization. They were able to click on that, and the reason is because I gave them editing permissions. So they actually go in to our environment, and they could actually make some changes here. And that change was reflected as soon as Samantha did. And you'll notice that popped up very quickly, but that is called guest contributor. So there we go. Great question. Just wanted to show that off. And I used a Gmail just to show you that's not even a Microsoft address. So it's not like they had to have that Word Online service. It's just we gave them permission. So I mentioned earlier, we can share with people inside our organization. We can collaborate with people inside our organization. But the big thing was we have complete control. So I went in and I sent this person a link to a Gmail. So I'm actually going to close this though. Check this out. We're going to go back to Samantha's OneDrive. We're going to go here and go back to share. Got that get a link thing. There's edit. If we disable that, they're not going to be able to go into it. So we're done collaborating. I don't want this external person in there anymore. Check this out. They'll click. Something went wrong. Completely dead link. So there we go. We have complete control over this. So my goal was to help you better understand how to use Office 365, how to use SharePoint Online, how to use OneDrive. Hopefully this can help streamline your workflow, as I mentioned at the beginning. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you can use some of this in your own environment and enjoy the many benefits of this service.